Hi, I'm Michelle. Welcome to my home and garden in Illinois. This is where we transform and create beautiful spaces through design, gardening, DIY, and the discovery of stylish, unique finds that we curate through thrifting and shopping. Today we're going to go thrifting, but we're also going to stop at Home Goods. I'm checking for things for the home and the garden. Haven't been there for a while, so want to stop in and see what they have. Then we're coming back and we're going to see what's in bloom early in July in the garden. So let's get going today. And the first place we're going to go to is the resale consignment shop, and it's called Stuff. And it is a Midwest kind of franchise. There's several of these, and it is a consignment shop. So people come in with their stuff that they're wanting to sell and make a little bit of money on. The thing I like about this store is they do price everything by dates. So after 60 days, whatever the price is, goes down by 50%. And after 90 days, the price will go down by 80%. So a lot of times, though, if you see something you like, you got to buy it right away because it will be sold. I did like that little black metal piece. I thought that would be cute decor with a candle in it, or also cutting off the bottom and using it as a cloche. We're also looking at planters. I was looking for some large terracotta pots. I did see several plastic pots, but that wasn't what I was looking for. And the terracotta pots that they did have this day were smaller. I was looking for some larger ones, but always a good place when you're out thrifting to check out their garden pots to see if you see anything that you like that you can repurpose out in your garden. I did think their terracotta pots, these smaller versions, were about the same price as buying new. So that's one thing you always have to be aware of, is what prices are new versus what they're asking thrifting. Now they did have some black window boxes too that just needed cocoa liners, so that was a good find. And I went over to their floral aisle that they have year round with all of their different vases, planters, faux flowers. Always check out this aisle looking for anything I'd want to repurpose. A lot of times I like the planter or I like the flowers. Occasionally I'll find where I like both of them, and that's always a bonus. But they did have some pretty planters that day that I was there. They had this little lovely blue vase planter that would look nice with a green branch in it, or some kind of white faux flowers. This was really pretty. I think it was a candle. I think somebody just placed it there. I think it was a candle holder. It said it was crystal, made in Italy, but very pretty glass. Now, this vase, I'm not sure what the deal was on it. I thought it was priced really high for what it was, unless it was something special. So that's one thing, always cognizant of, is the price high because it's something special, or is it just overpriced? Now, I always like cake plates because you can repurpose those to set decor on, and also pitchers I like to repurpose as flower holders for garden flowers. They hold beautiful garden flowers in the summertime. And so this store has a little bit of everything. They do furniture, pictures, home goods, clothing. So you can find about anything here, but you have to come back quite often because their stock changes all the time. So I do like to check out their furniture and see if there's anything unique, and also their wicker baskets. Now, this little wicker basket, little trunk suitcase, I showed you the identical one in my recent living room makeover that my sister had thrifted and gave me. So I thought that was cute that they had one too. And then this aisle has all of their decor that they kind of do colored vignettes of. So I always like to see if they have any pretty decor that I want to purchase and use in my home or garden. I spotted these boxwoods, and I really like boxwoods. And I didn't when I seen it, I only seen the one, and then I looked down and seen that there was actually two of them. And I debated because I think those would be really pretty on the mantle or on a table, especially at Christmas time too. Decorated with maybe some ribbon and a little bit of a few ornaments would be really pretty. My concern was, and maybe you can chime in, if you have pets in your home, especially kitty cats, They looked very realistic, and I was very concerned that the kittens would get in them and try to eat them because they did look so real. So I did pass on them, and they might have been like, that real type of boxwood that they preserve. I don't know, but they were $10.50 a piece, and I didn't think that was bad at all for what those were, because I know if you get them new, they are pretty pricey. And so then I spotted this on an end cap, and I love terrariums. I have one in my living room that I repurpose all through the year with different decor inside of it. You can put little statuary, faux flowers. Next, we're going to Habitat for Humanity. I haven't been here for a while at the Restore. Wanted to see what they had. The first thing I spotted was these little ice cream parlor chairs. Now, I have two out in my garden that I thrifted that I use with my little table, and those can be repainted any color. So then back over in this area is where they have the garden section of stuff. And when I walked around the corner, the first thing I spotted was not garden stuff, more of architectural salvage type stuff. These were marble, super heavy pedestals. I'm not sure what they were used for originally. If you had a place for those that you could repurpose them, I thought they were really neat. And then this little wicker table could be spray painted any color. The drawer on it was broke, so I'm thinking you could take it apart and actually like glue the drawer front on so it looked like a faux drawer. It wouldn't be usable, but it'd all be in one piece, and then paint it whatever color. Cute little wicker settee. And then this was in poor shape, but keep in mind, since this is all metal, it can all be spray painted. So for the price of what these chairs and the table were, it really was a good deal if you were willing to do some DIY on it and customize it to your color. Now, I also thought this was a nice park bench. Same thing. You need some paint, needs a little touch up on it. More pricey, but for park benches, that's, probably pretty reasonable. And clawfoot bathtubs, as we're walking by, I just had to stop and look. I love clawfoot bathtubs. I do not have one in my home. We just do not have an area that one would work in either of our bathrooms, but I do love the look of them. So I always like to look when they get them in. And just, yep, I just think they're so cool. And then I went over to lighting, and I do like these, and I wished I would have bought that. That was only $20, and these are more expensive than that when you go buy them new. And I like those to put, especially on my chandeliers. I think they just, because you can paint those any color as an accent, and they just set off your light. It's just a little bit of added bonus to a light that just gives it a little bit more, just a step up. I just really like them. And you don't usually, I have not seen them very often at resale stores, especially one that big. But I always do check out their lights, and this would have been a perfect DIY for somebody to turn into a chandelier. Because it was metal, it could be spray painted any color, and you could buy the crystals on Amazon and turn it into a really cool DIY chandelier. Checking out their furniture and their pictures and just all the stuff. I did see this little table in the back. I was immediately thinking potting bench or a repurposed kitchen island. The only problem I see with this is I think the person would need to be on the shorter side because they are technically tables. I am just way too tall to do something like that. I would have to have the legs adapted to actually make it a workstation. This was a really pretty inlaid desk. If somebody was looking for a pretty desk that they wanted to turn into even somewhere to put plants on, an entry table with that inlay on it. And then I seen some brass pieces too. And then I spotted the lion heads, and I was something about lion heads on brass. I just really like that. I showed that to you a few weeks ago with the Discovery Shop on that brass planter with the lion heads on it. I do like that look, but somebody was going to get something really cool to take home with them, but it just didn't fit in with my style, so I passed on those. And then they did have this whole set of vintage furniture. It looked like it was in fairly good shape, and the upholstery could have been redone, but it didn't look like it needed to be redone. And then this, I thought was a church pew, but it was not. The tag said that it was a train depot bench. Definitely wouldn't want to sit on it, but boy, that would be a conversation piece in your home, huh? It's huge. So somebody is going to get that, but boy, that would take a special place to put something like that. And then I did see this sofa with the wood inlay. I do like the wood inlays on sofa, and this one was in good shape and the upholstery was clean. So um, and then this, oh my gosh, I have a similar lamp in a shorter, tinier size, but very vintage. The crystals on this were very heavy. You can tell by the cord being so old. This was not a replica. This was a legit old lamp. And the lampshade, they might have changed out because it looks so new, but I think it was like $40. So what a good deal for a pretty lamp. And then wardrobes, I always like to look at wardrobes. This one actually had all the drawers in it instead of the hanging area, but something about anything that looks like a French wardrobe, I'm always attracted to. Not that I would want to have to get that home though. So let's go on to the Goodwill store and see what we see in Goodwill. Now, the first thing I spotted was a great big glazed piece of pottery planter. 12.99. That is a really good deal, but it was a funky shade of lime green. So you definitely would have had to have the right space for that. Then over on the planter end cap, I looked at this little planter, which is more my style, more of that stone Romanesque type style. 3.99. What a good deal. It could be inside or outside. Then they did have some pottery, which I know is very popular right now and on trend. So if that's your style, be checking Goodwills for that type of stuff, that older pottery that I'm coming across more and more when I'm out. I'm seeing that is being snapped up because it is on trend right now again. Then I went over to their little section of decor, figurines, that type of stuff, and someone had put that tray there I thought was really pretty out of ceramic. Now their floral aisle, I didn't like the florals, but I did like those two planters, and there was two of them. So I'm always thinking of like on a mantle or on an island or buffet to get a pair of something, planters or something like that that you can use for decor. So always looking for that. And then their wicker is right next to their faux flowers. And someone had put a vase up there and had faux flowers in it of that picture vase. And it was that nice terracotta color that would be really pretty for fall. And I did like this basket. I like the handles on it. I thought that would be really good to set a tall, smaller faux tree, like a fig tree or something down inside. And then over in the metals, they had this pretty pitcher. I would put definitely flowers in that. I have 3 or 4 of those that I rotate out in the garden with flowers in them. Makes gorgeous garden flower holders. They didn't have much furniture this day. I did spot this tall, I don't know if it was a homemade vase or something, a pottery piece that someone had made, but I did think it was pretty. Now we're heading on to Home Goods. And like I said, I haven't been to Home Goods for quite some time. And so I just wanted to check out what they had for not only the garden. And as soon as I walked in, I seen this planter. Now, this was made out of like a resin type material. It said it was weather resistant, so I could leave it out year round. It was tall. It wasn't super heavy, but there was no pedestal for it. And that's my thing because I thought, boy, that would look good out in the center of the cut flower garden. But I would definitely want a pedestal. So I passed on that. They did still have some statuary, and I did notice that they still had a lot of planters this late in the garden season for Home Goods because I had already stopped at Marshall's and TJ Maxx and they have already started clearancing all of their garden stuff. So if you are looking for garden stuff, I would be checking those 3 places because they are starting to clearance it. I thought this green was really pretty. It was very French green that you would see at a French park in Paris, and really like that shade of green. That and a lot of their pottery, like I mentioned previously, is not weather resistant. So in my climate, if I buy something like that with our heavy winter freezes, I do have to store it in the winter time. You cannot leave it out because it will crack. This was a huge planter and it was resin. It was a Martha Stewart, which I'm seeing Home Goods is carrying a lot of the Martha Stewart brand now. And I thought that would be really pretty with some different flowers in it. Very tall, and it would make a statement either in an entryway or back in the garden. And then they did have a little bit of terracotta, and so I went over to look at the terracotta pots, immediately saw this, and there was another one this with the same design that was nestled down inside of it. So it came in two sizes. Again, very, very heavy, but not weather resistant. So a lot of times I steer clear of those because that means you are lifting a heavy, heavy pot full of soil at the end of the season and having to put it somewhere in your garage, in your shed to protect it. So I would prefer to buy something that I can leave out year round. Some of my pots I do put away for winter, but if I can leave them out, I would prefer to do that. But they did have a lot of pretty selections and stuff that you could put on your patio or your deck. Laura Ashley, I seen a lot of Laura Ashley stuff at Home Goods. And, again, I think they have a huge selection and a good selection of pots if you don't mind that they're not weather resistant. But you can find a lot of unique shapes and colors. Faux flowers, the geraniums, I thought looked pretty realistic, that little bunch. And then when I was looking at furniture, this kind of looks like the one we just seen at the Restore with the wood on it. So, not a bad price for that. So I just thought that was kind of funny that they were almost identical, a little bit different, but I think the one at the Restore was 170. So then I was overlooking at the different furniture, seeing what they get in, and I just like to see all the stuff they get in. It kind of shows me what's in right now, what home goods, what's on trend, what colors are popular, what styles are popular right now, just to give me a sense of that. Not saying that I'm going to buy what it is, but just like I just like to look and see if there's anything, and I always like to look at pictures to see what they're showing that they have available now. Because as you know, I get a lot of my pictures thrifting. The majority of my pictures come thrifting. And I thought this chair was really cute, would make a cute bedroom chair or just extra seating in your living room. I like the pattern, the little legs on it, on the little rollers. Thought that was cute. And then I spotted another one of those planters on clearance. And you know how sometimes if you shop at Home Goods or Marshalls or TJ Maxx, you'll find the same thing on clearance that's out on the floor. And I figured a lot of times it's just when they get it in and that they age it out. But in this case, this one was damaged. So it would have only worked if you were going to be able to place that great big crack if you could fix it and also then put that up against a wall where it wasn't shown on a 360. And I did like these tall, there was two of these and I did like those. I thought those were pretty boxwoods with the balls on them. And then I went over to rugs because I've been thinking about getting a new rug for the living room. So I was looking through all their different rugs and my issue with rugs is though I want something in wool, I think, but then if you have cats, you know that a lot of times you have some messes to clean up with cats. And so I'm not sure that I want to invest that kind of money on a rug that it may end up getting stained. Maybe I want to continue getting inexpensive rugs that I can replace easily if I can't get them cleaned. Let me know your thoughts on that. If you've had animals inside, would you spend $400 or $500 on an area rug, or would you go lower priced on an area rug and replace it more often with pets? I was talking to John about it and telling him about all the different beautiful rugs that I seen while I was at Home Goods because there was a couple of them that I really liked. And as I'm telling him that later that morning, I got a new wool rug thrifting for the entryway, just a runner, and it's a vintage runner, really pretty. And I walked by it and one of the cats had a hairball on it. So I don't know. Maybe I should stick with the cheaper rugs. But I did want to show you the selection. If you're looking for a rug for somewhere in your home, you may want to check out Home Goods because they had a lot of nice wool rugs. Now they had another aisle of faux flowers and some garden decor. They had these nice resin pots, big planters for out in the garden. There was two of them. I always like it when you can find a pair of something at Home Goods or a store versus just one. So I just wanted to look down the aisle and see what they had in faux flowers, if they had anything, or any type of planters for inside or outside. This was a pretty pottery ceramic glaze type um, planter. And then there was this one up here that had the faux hydrangeas in them. That was a pretty arrangement ready to go for a deck, patio, sunroom. Now they did have a cute little turtle. Reminded me of my rabbits out in the garden. It did say that you could have it somewhere protected, like on a front porch, but I did think he was kind of cute for gardens. Now let's head back to my garden and see what's in bloom. Let's see how the back garden's looking the first week in July. The Boston fern is still really doing well with all the hot weather we're having. You can see the supertunias next to the fountain have really filled in. We've got bubblegum, fuchsia, and silverberry. We're gonna go this way first. We're gonna do kind of backwards this time. This little area here, the bobo hydrangeas are filling in now and starting to bloom. The little quickfire hydrangea is looking beautiful with all those blooms, and she's just starting to change. So she is one of the first bloomers for hydrangeas and just fills in beautifully. And we're at a phase in the summer now where the roses are getting ready to bloom again, but I don't have a lot of blooms. The knockout roses seem to bloom a lot during the summer, so the pinks and the reds. Now Winchester Cathedral is the white rose from David Austin. It is blooming again. And we can see the urns are looking really good still with the bunny rabbits. We've got two of those. Olivia is starting to bloom again, and she has beautiful blooms on her. And then I did intersperse some white lilies in between these knockout roses, and they are just starting to bloom, and they are beautiful. Super tall, multiple blooms on each stalk or stem. And so they're interspersed in between the knockout roses and will continue to open. Now I did plant some at the beginning of the season. I showed you I picked up some lilies from Aldi's, and they were all supposed to be white like this little one here. So I did like 10 or 15 of them. Well, guess what? When they started blooming, some of them are this yellow. I've had 3 or 4 that were mixed in so far that were yellow, and then these were supposed to be like those, and they're totally different. So I have to see when they open what they look like. This is Lillian Austin, a David Austin rose, looking beautiful, has lots of buds. We have this Proven Winners phlox that is absolutely gorgeous and just smells wonderful. Can't recommend that enough. I have not had an issue with powdery mildew on it, and if I recall, I think it's listed as deer and rabbit resistant, but you would have to double check on that on their website. Now this is another hydrangea from Proven Winners, and this is Quick Fire Fab, and I have think 4 of these. But look at the blooms on this. Now this will get pretty large eventually. I may end up transplanting this. I'm back and forth. I really like it between the roses, but it will get about 8 to 12 foot, so I think it needs to move. But this year I'm enjoying it like this. We've got a hardy geranium tucked in under the roses with some gorgeous purple blooms on it. And here are those sitting pretty. Oh, just so pretty and fragrant. The urn back in the back, look how well that's filled in with that Calibrachoa pink lemonade and the tricolor potato vine. It just looks beautiful. So the side window boxes are looking beautiful here with the Calibrachoa and the geraniums. We've got some thyme, asparagus fern, some snowstorm hanging down the white flowers, the white Calibrachoa, some tropicals in there. So just a whole mix to give it that pink and white color. So I'm really liking it. It's totally different than what I've planted in the past in the window boxes, but I really did want to see the window boxes this year because I just think they're so pretty that I didn't want to cover them up as much. Now I do notice that this, I do like how it's hanging down, but it does block the window box. So it's kind of a trade-off. The salvia is looking really good here at the base of the garden house. And then this lavender, look how well this lavender's grown in, and it's got a beautiful bumblebee on it right now. But it's just filled in so nicely. Now I have lots of lavender, but I don't have any that looks how nice and circular this is. A lot of times it does this, where it pulls more and leans to the sun. So this one is just absolutely beautiful. And I think the bumblebee agrees. Okay, our secret garden walkway. It's from the cut flower garden to the back garden, and we start here with Mr. Bunny and a quick fire fab. And we have 3 quick fire fab hydrangeas. Hostas up against the garden house, interspersed with some garden decor. We've got our pretty planter that's doing really well in our birdcage planter. My thrifted gifted bench and end table and my little teapot. Our thrifted basket that we put those pots of flowers in. Now these I just took, let me show you down inside here. There's just little pots. These aren't the pots they came in though. I actually upsized them and put fresh potting soil in and put them in there and then tucked them down inside of a cocoa liner. So that's a quick tip for you if you want to have a basket of flowers. I wouldn't leave them in the pots they come in though, unless they're decent sized pots. But if you get the little quart size that a lot of these annuals come in, that's too small. They'll dry out and you won't be able to keep them alive throughout the season very well. Really liking this, how it's all filling in here. And then we come out to see the beautiful pink sitting pretty roses. So that is just the July garden tour. You can see what's in bloom. It's been extremely, extremely hot here in Illinois in Garden Zone 5. So watering lots and trying to keep everything well hydrated and looking good throughout the season.